Board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this morning doing a little bit of talking about this game that I made. I released it about a year ago to the day, maybe a bit more than a year ago. To be honest, I don't keep good track of these things, so I don't really know. Kitty Cataclysm, it's what I'm talking about. Kitty Cataclysm, I'm not gonna shout. Hey, good morning, Sate. Good morning, Alan Oughton. It is lovely as always to see you both here, and I hope that you've had a reasonable night's sleep. Of course, there are some people. Oh, hello, Javier. It changes every day. Seriously, if you kind of pay attention, I don't think for the past 50-ish episodes, I think it's always been different. Of course, I hope that you have all had a good sleep, given your location, but out of respect for those who live in, the far off distant parts of the world, this is approximately bedtime in some parts of the world. I am Bez, and I am going to be blethering about board games, specifically Kitty Cataclysm. That's what I'm going to be talking about. It's a game which, it says on the back of the box, this game is chaotic. You can be a dick to your friends and family. There are many cat plans. You need to think about what card to play. That's pretty much the entire game. And there you go. It says it's for 2 to 5 players, but I did make up a 1-player solo variant that I am actually probably, when I say it's not brilliant, I just mean like I wouldn't release the solo variant on its own necessarily. It's like, would I pay 15 quid for it? But like, who am I to decide what people pay money for? I mean, I should just get it up there and talk about that. Oh yeah, it was designed by me, Bez. And I started working on it around 2014, I want to say, arguably. It depends how you count these things. I will explain. So, it starts off talking about a brilliant thing. What's the little thing which is brilliant? I'm going to talk about ring pools. Now, this is a can of something that I really should have put into the recycling a day or so ago. But ring pools are pretty cool. I mean, they're a system for just boom, and you can make little noises with them. That's pretty brilliant. But they're these tins, they keep everything fresh, relatively speaking, and ring pools on like big tins of like, chicken curry from Lidl or something like that. I think you've got a wee ring pull on that. Or sometimes you get a ring pull on your tinned tomatoes. Now, ring pulls just mean that you don't have to worry about the tin opener. And on a drink like this, it means that you aren't going to cut your lips around it. And that is brilliant. Now let's talk about games. Have I been playing anything? If so, what are their names? Games. Yesterday. What happened yesterday? I think I took a move on Ponce del Diablo and Crazy Farmers and the some Clotus Electrics. Ponce del Diablo, I'm losing by quite a bit. Crazy Farmers and the Clutter's Electrics, Alan Oughton is kind of sweeping up into the middle, just trying to get all my territory, whilst I'm going around the top of the screen, trying to get all the unclaimed territory, trying to bring the game to a close, whilst I'm still maintaining my lead. So those are the games that I've been playing. What have you been playing? Yeah, let me know. So, yeah. I, X8 says they played all 3 of their new birthday present gifts yesterday. Awesome. What were they? I hope that you enjoyed that. Now, feel free to tell me about what games that you've been playing and, of course, your recent highlights and what you have enjoyed. Alan Alton, played football last night with their son and 12 other unfit people. Cartographer's Patchwork Doodle and Trails of Toscana. Nice. I have heard good things about all of those games. I'm still not gotten the chance to play any of them. And do you mean American style? I assume you mean American style. I wonder what Amican style would even be. Like Amican. That's a nice word, Amican. Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. So we've had good things, and my personal recent highlights. I woke up this morning and then a heavy thing dropped in, and it's from someone who you might know. It says, all the best, Tom Cauldron, and says it might be interesting to you. Blazing Aces, a fistful of family card games. That's enough poker. Let's play something new. And thank you to Tom Cauldron. I'm super excited. I assume that Tom thought of that partially because it was my birthday and partially just... But it was really amazing. I don't know where Tom got my address from. I mean, maybe Tom got my address from the fact that I've posted Tom a lot of things, and yeah, I always put the return address. That might be it. Anyway. Wait, my address is easy to find? So if it's actually on the internet, then please let me know afterwards, because I'm happy for people to know that I'm N15 free QP, but not which door number. That's like the step too far. Apparently my address is on about 14 pieces of mail. There you go. So it's easy to find if I send you stuff. Anyway, as always, feel free to comment, ask questions, thumb like, follow. Let's do some questionably quick questions. What's the name of this game? Kitty Cataclysm. How many players is it for? According to the box, 2 to 5. No. Let's not do this. So it's done by Stuff by Bez, which is me. It says 8+, which I still stand by. 7 to 10 minutes. I still agree with that. The contents are 48 cards, 1 rule sheet, 1 sheet of superfluous paper. That superfluous paper, I'm quite proud of that. You've got the barcode over there. That's if you're a bit juvenile. Let me... Yep. I'm quite proud of this tagline, although I feel... Yeah, some people have commented that I really shouldn't have the word dick on a game that's for 8+, and I agree with them. This is all going to be changed for the 2nd edition. I've talked a lot about how I see Kawaii as epitomizing the most brilliant box design. So like one side that way should be vertical, one side that way should be horizontal, short horizontal, and then all the bump that no one wants. And I should have really used that space to have a lot more pictures of the cards to show what's going on, because this just looks like a dark box. What's going on? You can't tell from this. It's terrible. I still like this bits of, if it said, get your claws out, that would be a better pun. This game is chaotic. There are many cat puns. You need to think about what card to play. That's pretty much the entire game. I think it does a good job of kind of setting the scope. So in the box, you've got these paw prints, which were meant to be paint, but I realized afterwards they could look a bit like... well, someone actually told me they look a bit like blood, which totally was not my intention at all and made me a bit sad. You've got these cards. I'll talk about them a bit. This is the rule sheet. So, like usual, rule sheet all on one page. Honestly, with this one, you've basically got all the rules just on that bit. And then it's reiterated here, and then you get the finer details here, as well as the credits, thanks, and history, which goes into lots of 0. Then this is the superfluous sheet of paper. On one side, you've got this, which you might want to colour in. I did colour it in once and it was a bit tiring, to be honest, but then I got about 3/4 of the way through and I was like, yeah, I'm going to finish colouring in this. But I might not have that in the second edition. And yeah. Xate asks, did they tell me, I assume you mean, did you tell me that it looked a bit horrible, like it was bits of blood? No, you didn't tell me that. Literally only one person told me it. So if you thought it and you didn't even tell me, that probably means that a lot of other people thought it too. So this is the other bit of superfluous sheet of paper, which is just, maybe you could put it up on your wall, or maybe you could colour it in. I know that Anne Jones has coloured it in. And yeah, it's not like amazing bits of art, but yeah, it's something that you might like. And Alan Alton, thank you very much. Just for the record, in private, like, don't come up to me in the middle of a convention whilst I'm, you know, talking to some reviewer or someone and say, hey, Bez, there's this major problem with your game. That's not cool. Or like on live stream, obviously that's not appropriate. But please just tell me, like in private, please always feel free to tell me. If I have a typo, tell me. If I have something wrong with a game, please tell me, because it's thanks to people like Antoinette who made a review and said, hey, there's some issues with this. And I reached out to them and said, hey, could you clarify? I know it's not your place to say, but exactly what's issues. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. What is Kitty Cataclysm? Kitty Cataclysm is a game where everybody has a hand of cards. So at the start of the game, you've got 5. I would choose to play one of them. If in this example, I would probably play with this one. Gets everybody else to draw 2 cards. And I place it in front of me. So place it in front of me in my personal kitty, and everyone else would draw 2. And in player 2, let's say I'm playing against Xate. So Xate started off with 5 cards and then has drawn 2 more. And maybe Xate plays, I don't know, everyone else draws 3 cards. Wait, everyone else draws 3 cards. There we go. Because this number at the top is the meownatory value. So at the end of the game, the number of cards in your kitty plus the number of cards of everything that you're holding is added up, and that is basically how you determine who wins the game. I hope that makes a vague semblance of sense. So yeah, basically on your turn, play a card, do what it says. The card you played goes into your personal kitty. At the end, the game ends either when the deck runs out and someone cannot draw, or if on your turn you have no cards in your hand and you need to play a card, which would be basically if it's your turn. So it doesn't end if you run out of cards, because maybe someone else might donate you some cards, or well, that wouldn't be it, or cause you to draw, for example, like the this one. Now, if you've got a lot of cards, then you might get hurt with a Cataclysm. Everyone holding 7 or more cards loses all those cards. Or not quite as bad, but still pretty catastrophic, is the catastrophe. Where is it? So catastrophe. Everyone holding 6 or more cards loses their kitty. And it's basically about that tension. It's basically a game about that tension of, I want to have lots of cards. I want to have all the most meowny. Yeah, you donate anything that's negative. You probably donate things that's worth 0 as well, just because you want to get rid and stay below 6. Because as soon as you have 6, as soon as you have 7, boom, you're reaching the critical point. Now, it's a game of chaos, cat puns, and simple card play. It's 1 to 5 players, arguably best with 3 to 5. Lots of people have said 7 minutes-ish, designed by me and published by me. Now, Kitty Cataclysm, what's this game all about? Hopefully I have explained this. How did the design start? Okay, that's the story. Now, this design, oh my gosh, this design started around 2013 or 2014. I'm not exaggerating. So it all started with Danish Frank. Let me see what it says in here. Oh yeah, it says here, the story begins in 2013 with a prototype by Danish Frank. It was called Unfair, completely unrated, in case anyone wants to know, to the more modern Unfair, the Australian published one. Anyway, so this Unfair prototype was a chaotic game of card play. You played cards into personal discard piles, and the person with the most points in their discard pile would win. And it was, I think, Danish Frank, because I called them Danish Frank because I know multiple people called Frank, and I just want to discern them from all the other people named Frank, like Frank West, owner of City of Games. City of Games? Yep, City of Games. No, yeah, I think it is City of Games. Anyway, the one who made the Catsy, someone, City of Kings was their first game, and then, sorry, I'm a bit having a brain dead day. Short on sleep. So, Danish Frank, as opposed to Frank West or Frank Miller or any other person named Frank, made this game in which cards would let you swap cards, steal cards, or steal other discard piles. And what I don't say here is this game Unfair was so unfair that in the rules, it had bits that you had to say out loud and then bits that you didn't have to say. So if you wanted, you could keep that bit secret to yourself, but you had to say everything else out loud, so other people might not even know the full rules of the game. So it so epitomized the notion of being unfair and being a ridiculous, chaotic card game. I mean, I thought it was brilliant, honestly. Anyway, so there was one super powerful card that was marked on the back, and so it could be targeted. And this one super powerful card was basically saying, if you manage to play this, you win the game. And it became a game of kind of, oh, that person's got that card, I'm going to take it from them. Oh, that person's got that card, I'm going to take it from them. It had the notion that once you ran out of the deck, the game would end, but that never happened because there was always some point where someone drew the game-ending card, and then eventually it couldn't be stolen by them, by anyone else, and the game finished. I liked the notion of just having all these random cards. What I really liked was, firstly, what the game was trying to do. Having your own personal score pile. When the deck runs out, that's the end of the game. These are the elements that I took directly from Danish Frank's game, and so I want to give credit where credit is due. Also, I guess I did take the kind of inspiration of the feel somewhat, which was, but in turn, that was very much inspired by Flux. I mean, I think you can sort of see the nature of Flux. Anyway, so I wanted to make my own version of this after Frank left London. I got in touch with Frank. I said, hey, do you mind if I do this? And then I made the first version, and it was a crazy, chaotic game, but there was one card in it said something like, stand up, if you ever sit down, then you need to give this card to someone else. The person with this card at the end of the game wins 10 points. Now, I think you all know where this story is going. This game turned into In a Bind, which turned into Yogi. This is the Korean version. It's got little bits of Korean text there. I can't even read Hangul. I don't know what it says. I assume it's nothing rude, you know, given that it's a children's game. Anyway, so yeah, I was really happy with the game that I'd made. But back then there were two possible paths that I could have gone. So I could have gone the physical route, or I could have gone the non-physical route of this crazy passing cards around and doing stuff. So what I ended up doing was that in 2016, after I had licensed In a Bind to Gigamic, and they would go on to make Yogi, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, interesting. Like, I enjoyed that game. I enjoyed making the L deck. I would like to make other games. You know, I've made quite a few games now. I mean, for the L deck, I'd made 5 games. That I was fairly happy with. I mean, that's why there's 5 games in this box. And so I thought, okay, with all my new design abilities. Maybe I should go back to that. Maybe I should go back to that game which I previously called Redonkulous, and explore that other avenue. Now, this other avenue, I took it to the Friday daytime playtest, which was a thing back then. I wanted to keep it about the card play and not having any physicality involved. I immediately simplified it and streamlined it massively. So the original version in 2013, oh my gosh, like the numbers went from, I think, 0 to 20, and there was like a paragraph of text on some of these things. Whereas this is not like that far away from where I started. Like back when I started off making this game, again in 2016, having been away from it for 3 years, it's like, okay, what are the key parts that I want to have in this game? Okay, you can steal cards. That makes sense. Okay, you can draw cards. Okay, and you can maybe give cards away. And that, for me, like, this is a thing that makes this game a little bit different, because it is all about what you donate. It's all about what you give. And every donation is in itself just the start of quite a wide array of decisions. It's like, okay, if you've got 7 cards in your hand, you play this one, which 2 do you want to be left with? This one, Cat Lady Don't. It's like a big reset button. And when do you steal? And so all of these cards were given values. The idea being that a better card would be worth less and a not so good card would be worth more. So, I mean, honestly, the steal one is probably the best card in there, given that it's a decent ability. It replaces your hand. It keeps it at... Anyway, so back in the original game, when I made it in 2013, I had this idea of, okay, if you go below a certain number of cards in your hand, other people can play cards, or there can be cards that happen that just punish you. If you go above a certain number of cards, there can be other cards that punish you. Now, let's carry on reading. Chaos was reined in slightly so that card play mattered. I added the concept of... Oh, man. Goodness. Is that a typo? Oh, man. I added the concept of donations as a standard action and removed drawing as an automatic action. I'm really chuffed with this, because people don't appreciate that my game is simpler than play one, draw one. This game is literally just play one and then do what it says, obviously. It's the fact that you don't automatically draw a card allows you a little bit more potential to kind of manage your hand, to manage exactly how many cards you might have in your hand, to manage to be able to make a card that's less good, and it totally opens up the design potential. And yeah, that is something that I am really proud of. I was playtesting it tens of times each week, mainly because it is such a short game, I should admit. I was feeling fairly happy with the mechanics, but it still felt like it was missing something. I feel like in early 2017, so I went to Dundee to meet my old friends, Lynn Parker, Danny Parker, Edmund Kupusniak. Mona Bozdog was not a friend, but, I met them. They're a very nice person. Anyway, I think I might have met Alex again. Anyway, it was all these friends from university, and we were all hanging out. They were interested to try my thing. I had this prototype where, by that time, I had removed the cards that punish you for having too few cards in your hand, because what I realized is that too few is already a big liability, especially if you've got cards that allow you to steal a bunch, or a card that says, "Ooh, everyone loses 3 cards." This basically means that even though it's not explicitly punishing you for having too few cards, there is a strong implicit punishment, because, okay, you lose those 3 cards, and then the game's probably going to finish if it comes back to you and no one donates. And so also you're being punished even if you had 4 cards and then you went down to 1. That's a massive disadvantage. And I love leaving people with just 1 card because it is an evil, horrible game. Because if you leave people with just 1 card, that means that they don't get any option on what to play. Of course, it might backfire. Like if someone had a card that said donate 2, draw 2, you do it in order. So this card basically just becomes draw 2. And if you had the one we saw earlier, donate 4, draw 4, if this is your last card, then you're laughing and you can just draw 4 cards. So, anyway, back to the point. I was playing it with these people in Dundee, and Lynn Parker, formerly known as Lynn Love, potentially known as Dr. Love in an alternate universe where Lynn kept their maiden name. Anyway, so Lynn Parker said, hey, what about a cat theme? Like, for example, you're drawing, I think they said, okay, you're stealing, that's like, that could be like a fat cat, or when you're drawing, yeah, I think that might have been it. And then Lynn gave me a couple of ideas for puns, and I went back home to my parents' house in Glasgow. I was living in London at the time, but I was up in Scotland visiting, and I was like, wow, that's a good idea. I'm going to spend, and so I spent an entire day just pondering cat puns, pondering lots of cat puns, pondering a different cat pun for every single card. Now, I'm over the next few years, I think that was early 2017, and I kickstarted it in 2018, I want to say. And in between those times, whenever I was playing it, I was like, oh, how can I make this cat pun the best? And I started up this thing of, you've got the catch, you've got the catchier, and you've got the catch. Oh no, the catch, the catcher, and the cat chest. And then you've got the catchy and the catchier and the catchiest. And each kind of, so it kind of follows a pattern. So in case you don't notice, the catch is donate 2, draw 2, cat chair or cat chair, donate 3, draw 3, and the cat chest is donate 4, draw 4. So it's the cat chest or the cat chest. And you've got the same with other things. I should have put this into, so you've got the catchiest, which is just a cat playing the piano. Why not? Everyone else draws 3 cards. You've got the catchier, everyone else draws 2 cards. And the catchy, which I should be able to find fairly easily. Oh my gosh, where is it? Here it is. Everyone else draws 1 card. Not you. And so the puns started turning into almost like explaining what's going on in the game. Like the fat cat is drawing cards, the fatter cat, the fattest cat. And then you've got the cat burgle, the cat burglar, the cat burglest. And some people say, hey, is the cat burglar misspelt? And no, it isn't, because it's E, because it's more burgle than burgle. Anyway, so yeah, I figuratively ran with this and added many cat puns. Yay. At UK Games Expo, so this was the final big tweak at UK Games Expo 2017. So I used to have different card backs for some of the cards, and Kieran Symington still dislikes this fact. Kieran Symington says that the old version was slightly more strategic because a couple of the cards were marked. So, but at the end, what happened was that the Cataclysms were marked, the best cards that could end the game, basically, the cat burglist was marked, and also a couple of really bad cards were marked almost as dummies. So if you took a marked card, either it was a really powerful card or it was a really fairly rubbish card. And you wouldn't know. I think there were about 7 to 10 marked cards anyway. So someone basically said, because it's marked, that gives us too much information. We want it to just be exciting. And having it come out of nowhere, being able to say, oh, wow, this is the most amazing hand. Okay, I'm going to draw and play again. Okay, I'm going to steal free and play again. Okay, now everyone loses 3 cards. Okay, now that means that you had 6 cards and now you don't. End of game. And you can have crazy combos like that, and you never know when it's going to come up because the cards are all identical backs. And I don't know why I resisted. I think it was just a big part of the game. It was such a big part of the game's identity. It was something that I'd kind of clung onto. But why? I mean, it's such an old story. Designer makes game. Designer makes game based on a single mechanism. In this case, it was based on Unfair by Danish Frank, with the marked cards that was being passed around and stolen. Designer builds game around mechanism. Designer is still in love with mechanism, but Designer eventually removes the mechanism and the game is better without it, because that initial mechanism was just was scaffolding. Do you know what I mean? It was something that helped me get started. It was almost like a restriction. I mean, yes, it did provide me with guidance. It did tell me, okay, this is roughly what I want to do, at least to start off with. But it's also, it wasn't the best, at least not for this game. Maybe there's another game wherein stealing marked cards could be part of it. And I think there is, in fact, a button shy game with it's going on, but yeah, this kind of semi-marked cards intentionally. But you get what I'm saying. Like, you just need to always think, okay, this thing helped me get the game started. Okay, this mechanic was essential 10 iterations ago. Is it still essential? And it just draws to the point that it's always worth trying out other things. Even if you think, okay, this game is 100% finished, then, okay, there's always the time and money and work and cost benefits analysis. But at the end of the day, if you do have the time, it is always useful to try a game with a different set of rules. Maybe you'll find out something else that works even better. And if, game A was already published, maybe by you, maybe by someone else, you can always work out a different version of it. Now, how did the design start? Okay, let me finish this. I was horrified by the suggestion, but I tried it out and the game was then almost done. Just a few hundred more playtests and the game was ready to go on Kickstarter. There was a lot of playtesting done for this game. I mean, there is one actual mistake that came between me that I don't know how it's happened. It came in the sort of putting the cards together, the final typesetting phase. And yeah, one of the cards is worth 1 more point meowny than it should be. But I'm fairly happy with how it works. I mean, I'm not saying that everything is perfectly balanced. And indeed, I'm not sure that it could be perfectly balanced. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because firstly, the cards are situational. So this card, if this is your last card in hand, this is an amazing card. Arguably, it should be worth -1. If it's your if you've got a handful of cards, this is terrible. I mean, if you've got a handful of cards you like, this is pretty bad. So it should be worth like 1 or 2. And it's all about what you have to donate, what you get to draw. I mean, this is basically like a gamble, which is why. And then I wanted to keep some pattern going on in the points. If you look at the catchier, catchiest, okay, it goes 1, 2, 3. That feels like a reasonable thing, although I think for a second edition, I might turn this one into, this possibly should be worth 2. But the thing is, you want some excitement. You want some cards where it's like, oh, I managed to play this card. Boom. Managed to get it down into my kitty. And then at that point, once someone's gotten it into their kitty, a 3-pointer, because there's only a few 3-pointers in the game, then wow, you need to build up that other person's hand and hit them with a cat-ass trophy. Get their kitty out of the game. The other ones, like kits, so the cards are situational. The other thing is that even if there was a consistent power level, it's always like fractional, if you know what I mean. Let's say we took the mean of, okay, in all situations, let's look at the average, let's look at the mode, let's look at the medium, how useful is this card? Then maybe this one would be, let's say, a 0.2, maybe this one's a 0.3, maybe this one's a 0.5, I don't know. And yeah, you could multiply everything by 100 to get whole numbers, but that's not nice. No one wants to finish a game with like this doing maths. And honestly, in earlier versions, the numbers ran from, I think, -2 up to +5. And I don't think I had that many zeros. I tried to have fewer zeros if I could, just because I wanted, some people made the point that when you play a 0, you feel like, okay, I'm not progressing anything. But then the zeros now are things that maybe do a bit more to the game state. Narrowing it down made the arithmetic easier, and it's also made it a little bit more honest, because there's so much fluctuation in how good these cards are from one game to the next, that saying, hey, this one's 3, and this one's 4, and this other one's 5, it seems almost disingenuous compared to just saying, okay, you know what, there's a few cards worth 3, there's a bunch of cards worth 2, most of them are worth 1 or 0, there's a few cards worth -1, and that still offers just enough variety, because you want to have a big enough range for the excitement. You want to have the 3s where, okay, you've got this Donate 5, that is actually a hard card to play. I think that one definitely deserves to be free. That's the Scatter. The Scat is worth 2, and the Scat Test is worth -1, because that's to donate any number and then you play again. It's the same with all the kinds of single things. So the Cat Burgle, the fattest cat is -1, draw 4, play again. The Cat's Burglist is steal 3 and play again. But those negative numbers hurt you enough that you feel, okay, I'm not entirely sure about playing them, but they're still super powerful and they feel interesting to the game. You want those negatives to give you little bits of uncertainty and give you little bits of tension. You want the high numbers to give you a bit of excitement. Do I want this? I honestly don't know. That is the one card that I think I might change for a second edition. If anyone's curious, the one card that was an actual mistake was Cat Anna, which was overpowered, and Cat Anna is, originally it was just a sword wielding ninja, and then I was like, you know, it's just Cat Anna. It's like Anna from, you know, looking quite similar to a popular children's movie there. And if people say it out loud, they'll be, oh, Cat Anna. Oh, cool. That's like a sword. But I kind of wanted to leave some puns a little bit harder to work out, like Cat Lady don't. Anyway, just a few hundred more playtests and the game was ready to go on Kickstarter. At the time of writing, oh, this is when I wrote this, I am now working on the art. I am excited to release my third board game thing. People sometimes ask me, how many games have you made? And oh my gosh, that's such a difficult question to answer. Like, if it's how many do you count In a Bind and In a Bind expansions as two separate things? Do you count In a Bind Junior as a separate thing and Yogi as, I mean, do you count Wibble and Grabble as different games? I mean, they should be called different games. But at the same time, it feels a bit wrong to say, okay, I've made 50 games and start counting Micro Muckle and Freemill when I've not even put the rules together. And so I guess if I wanted to say how many games have you finished, I would say 9, 10, 11. So by that, I mean the 9 L games, the Yogi in a Bind kind of franchise, and Kitty Cataclysm. But, there's a Kitty Cataclysm expansion. Like, it's such a difficult question. And so, but this is my third thing. This felt like, okay, I've made 2 things, and now this is my third. And so now I'm like a real designer, because apparently something changes when you get to 3, but it didn't really. I was kind of hoping that it would, but yeah, oh well. It's a bit different from Yogi or Wibble++, now known as the L deck, but I hope that all of them are loved, even by different people. There were many other playtesters, but super special thanks need to be made to David Brain. David Brain, oh my god, is so amazing, so analytical, so good at seeing things and then analyzing numbers, whether it's a chaotic game like this or a game like Key Market. Oh my gosh, and yeah, say it's if you ever come over, then let's play Key Market. Paul Mansfield, who's, yeah, amazing. Kieran Symington and Leo Marshall, all of these people are regulars at Waterloo and the biggest contributors to the general balancing. Because at the time, towards the end, it was a case of saying, okay, should this be 1 or should it be a 2? Should this be a 0 or should this be a 1? Like for every single card. And yeah, let's hope when. And anyway, that wasn't any slight on you, Xate. I would love for you to come over. You know how it is, just the current state of the world. Sometimes it's hard to imagine anything different. But I very much look forward to, fingers crossed, seeing you in real life at some point in the not too distant future. Anyway, so towards the end, it was at Waterloo, it's a 90-minute slot, and sometimes you get a big meaty game where it's like, okay, you know what, we're probably going to play 1/3 of it. And Kieran Symington comes with their game, they spend 20 minutes or half an hour explaining it, then we spend like half an hour or 40 minutes playing it, and then Kieran's like, okay, let's stop here. I would like to have some actual discussion. Whereas with this, it's like, okay, boom, we play, boom, we play, boom, we play. And then we play about 10 times. And then after 10 times, then we have maybe 20 minutes to discuss stuff. And we would chat about, okay, how did people feel about these numbers? How did people feel about this text? And also asking people, how did you feel about this art concept? That was a bit less. It was mainly about the numbers. I mean, numbers are important. Come on, even in a chaotic game, it's all about the numbers. It's number wang. So, Andy Angu hosting Enfield playtests, and the 2 players who I can't remember the names at UK Games Expo 2017 who helped persuade me to try removing the different card backs. Artwork, graphic design, and writing by me. Proofreading by Aidan Laufer, John Brieger, Chris Zinsley, and Rachel Mortimer. I also hired Denim Spur to help me finish it all. And yeah, I hope you have fun with this game. Now, that's like a good overview of how the design started and how it changed. I guess now, what do I think of it now? And maybe I should actually explain the 1-player version. So what do I think of it now? I like it. I feel like this is a quick game, which I'm going to admit, like, sometimes there's a fair amount of skill, I think. This is obviously all totally biased. I think there's a fair amount of skill in analyzing what card combos there are and what you can possibly do. I think that, yes, it is incredibly chaotic. Yes, it's very much driven by luck. But if I play 5 times in a 4-player game and I win 3 of them, I think that, sure, it could just be luck. But, those kinds of stats keep repeating when I'm playing at conventions, which I generally try not to do, but sometimes I look over people's shoulders and I think to myself, okay, I know that what they're doing now is a terrible move. And that makes me happy because it makes me realize that there is skill to this game, that it is not 100% obvious what to do. Like there's little strategic tips that I could give. I'm not going to give them right now because I know that there's at least one person in the audience who doesn't want to hear strategic tips. But yeah, and it does occur to me that surely a playthrough is kind of strategic tips because yeah, Sate, let me know. How do you tell me in the comments? How do you feel about strategic tips? And also, do you watch playthroughs? Because when people are doing a playthrough, normally they talk through what they're thinking. So isn't that kind of a strategic tip? Because if someone says, "Hey, I'm trying to do this to empty their hand," or if someone says, "Hey, I'm doing this to make X happen," or these two cards an incredible combo, and so on, isn't that kind of giving you those spoilers? Let me know what you think. Yeah, I did mean you with hating strategic tips. And okay, you do not watch those types of videos. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And Alan Outson says at least 50%, at least 50% of people, at least 50% of gamers like to discuss strategy. I mean, there's something different. Like if I've just played a game with Layla and then we discuss strategy and we discuss, okay, what could we have done differently and better? And then we both consider that. But yeah, one and yeah, just so it occurs to me that probably I shouldn't do the maybe I'll do the how to play the one player game and then a playthrough of that as a separate video one day. Oh, so I do notice that it's just to let you know, I'm probably going to finish very close to the hour today because I have a really incredibly bad headache. I don't think it's anything serious. Just to let you know, I think it's just lack of sleep and general yeah, stress. So I love what Xate says here. I love to find a strategy. Once I have it, the game loses a bit of fun for me. And I think that this is a key thing about expansions. And you don't, Xate, you don't have the personality cards, do you? Let me know. Oh, thank you very much. But let me know, do you have the personality cards? Because, so, okay. I mean, the thing about an expansion or the thing about a CCG, I mean, the thing about any game that brings in new content. So Mark Rosewater calls this the crispy hash brown effect. The idea being that, you know, you've got the hash brown and the crispy bits. Okay, that's the best bit, you know, on a hash brown. But then the middle, it's like, okay, that's pretty good, but you're just eating it basically because you had to eat it. But it's the crispy bit, that's the bit that you really like. Anyway, so similarly with a game, once you've got like all these new bits and you're trying to work out how to put them together, that's the exciting bit. That's the exploration phase. And then once it moves from the exploration to the mastery, that's a bit that's a lot of people like a bit less. So, I mean, it's not, I would argue that even, okay, there's a basic simplicity beyond which any additional improvement is redundant. For example, I could say I've mastered noughts and crosses, and you'd probably have to add a new rule. For example, say you need to make every move within 0.1 seconds. That would be a tricky game for me. I mean, seriously, whoa, that would be crazy. Whoa. I mean, like, I don't know how low I could go. Maybe 0.5 seconds, I might stand a chance. I mean, maybe even 1 second, I might struggle. But anyway, the point is that I've pretty much mastered that. But even a simple game, like, I'm going to say, okay, even a simple game, I'm not going to name any names. Even a simple game with a lots of luck, you could do extra things to kind of eke out a little bit more percentage chance of winning. And so working out those possibilities. And so if you look at skill, okay, let me draw a bit of paper. These are the unicorns, by the way. Oh no, this paper goes all the way through. I think that's if we draw a bit of skill. So I posit that it would go like that. So skill, and so this is time on the x-axis and skill, or rather time and effort spent playing the game, and skill on this axis. So basically what I'm saying is that there's this bit where you start learning things and you're like, oh my god, I understand the rules of the game. And then, like at the start, that was actually an accident, but I think that's probably true, that there's this tiny bit where you've got 0 skill until you actually learn the rules, and it's, oh, hey. And then eventually, so this is the mastery bit. This is the kind of exploration and discovery bit. And this exploration and discovery bit is, the bit that people like Xate loves. And it does strike me that were it not for the business model of costing a lot of money, you would probably really enjoy Magic the Gathering. And it does occur to me that there's a lot of associated problems with that. And also, even with Hearthstone, where you don't technically have to pay any money, there's a lot of, okay, you need to grind a lot to make things better, because that's the way that CCGs generally go. But by injecting a game with a little bit of new content, you inject new content, and it's like, whoa. So, like, kind of, suddenly your skill goes down, and then, so, like, ignore this. This is like, if you injected new content, your skill suddenly goes down, so you've got a bit more of the kind of, discovery. Oh yeah, I guess you're just not into the theme Xate. Is that it? But I mean, generally, surely the notion of a CCG, like that injection of new content, is a kind of thing that you would enjoy. And Alan Oughton says that it's an interesting idea that more knowledge, strategy understanding equals less fun. Alan Oughton says they don't enjoy games like Target until they have the strategy understood and defined. Xate says Target is still fun, just not as fun as it was. I also did add the expansion to that one. Alan says, same with backgammon. Even though I would say I'm close to being able to play the best game possible within the constraints of the dice and the other player's tactics, I still love it, as the luck makes the game for me. And obviously, if you play with the doubling cube, that suddenly adds so much new potential, and that's going to chuck you down, because boom, you thought you were doing well, boom, now you're knocked down because of the expansion. And that's something that expansions can add, like a new sense of discovery. There's also a utilitarian part of some expansions where it's just, okay, 5-player mode, 6-player mode, 1-player mode, whatever. If the 1-player mode requires its own deck. Alan says, this is probably why I don't like perfect information strategy games. I would not be happy until I knew everything, which by default is impossible much of the time. Yeah. So it says, I like cubes. Near perfect strategy or near perfect strategy games, very low luck if it has to be included. And Alan likes, okay. I mean, I guess I can't remember what's inspired this point, and now we've just had another tangent, which, if I didn't have these tangents, this is by eliminating these tangents and by preparing, I'm hopefully going to do decent talk on Saturday. We will see. I mean, so, yeah, the point was that I wasn't going to show you the 1-player game because that would kind of potentially explain a bit too much. But I do really like the 1-player game. I think I'm more similar to Xate, because once I managed to win the 1-player game, then I was like, okay, I've managed to win it. Now can I do it again? And once I managed to win it like 3 times in a row, I'm like, okay, now that's all good. I feel like it's done. And when I say it's not, it's like I'm trying to think what 1-player games I've actually enjoyed. like I feel like every one-player game for me is kind of expendable. I look at and it's like, yeah, that was really easy. I basically beat it on the first go. That wasn't enjoyable. I didn't feel any sense of exploration. Sorry, Todd Sanders, but I just feel like the one-player game was underdeveloped. Um, I liked Energy Empire, the one-player game, but I probably wouldn't ever play that again because I feel like I've mastered that. And what's the point in going through the motions? Um, but I could conversely absolutely see myself playing through Holding On because I'm not playing that to learn the strategy or anything. I'm playing that for the exploration. So maybe that shows that I'm far more about, um, the joy of the discovery and the exploration. I'm not about just playing something that I feel like I already know what to do. I want to have new content. I want to have new decisions to make. It's all about the maths and all about the arts design ideas. The social interaction is not the most enjoyable part for me, especially when people take a long time to play. And I don't know if you have this, Alan, but I would be interested to hear what you think of the one-player game. Um, actually, um, whereas, say, this is the key thing. Like, it's all about getting your expectations ready. Do you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, if I play a game that's a perfect information abstract strategy game, and I'm playing it with Layla in a way that I'm trying to make the best possible move and I'm analyzing everything a lot, whereas Layla's trying to play a speedy, quick game of, okay, let's see what happens, then we're not going to have fun. Well, at least Layla's not going to have fun, and I'm probably going to be sad that I win too easily. Conversely, if Sate and Alan, where's the bit where you see, yeah, especially when people, I don't mind AP as long as I can go off and watch a film in between. So, yeah, I will talk about the one-player game of this on a completely different show because I feel like there's so much more to cover, and I am really struggling mentally right now, and I'm going to go and I'm trying to think. Did I eat anything, Gloss? Maybe I'm just really hungry. Huh. Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to think of the last time I ate. Anyway, so let me try and wrap this up somewhat. So today I will be talking about my cat-tastic game, Kitty Cataclysm. If you have any questions, please ask, and I'll give we about like 10 minutes for questions. It is a game of chaos, cat puns, and simple card play. I believe that I managed to achieve a very chaotic game. It is a game where it's like poker. Some hands you should win. Some hands you will really struggle to win. But it's all about when you have a hand that you could win. I've seen so many people open a hand. I'm like, oh my god, they could do something to totally set the game so much in their favor with that card and that card because they have one of the play against. And so many people miss it, especially on their first, few games. And so there is a lot to be shown with the card combinations. Yeah, you've got that. I'm just going to flick through the cards. I think it is simple. I'm proud of its simplicity. Like there's basically 3 things you can typically do: steal, draw, or donate. And there's only a few cards with actual a lots of text. I'm very proud of the Board Game Geek interview that I did about this because the person was like, oh, I think it was 10 minutes. They were like, oh, okay, you can tell us vaguely how to play, but you won't have time to do a full rules thing. And I was like, you know what? I disagree. Not only will I have time to explain the game, but I will also have time to play a virtual game with someone else. and then I will play a full game against you, Chad. Chad, and did it. So everyone passes 2 cards left, so a wee bit different. It's like, yeah, when do you do that? Kind of keep thinking about. Also, it's about knowing what cards exist. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what changes I would make for a second edition. Um, um, I am quite happy with the artwork. I think I generally did a good job. I think there's literally nothing here that I feel like I need to change. I have been told by one online place that they would not stock this game because they felt like the text looks bad, which was a bit disappointing. But yeah, I can understand if they think that that's a blanket rule. But yeah, it might be that I think about changing it or I completely redo the artwork for a future edition. But for now, I think I'd like to do a second edition with second printing with minimal changes. There's definite. Oh, thank you very much, Alan. Yeah, some of them are based on people. So this is an actual human, but drawn as a cat, if that makes sense. Because it's a cat lady. Although it's not a lady who really likes cats. It's an actual cat lady. This is probably my favourite pun. Pyramid scheme. And it got towards the end. I'm going to admit, this is probably... If I was going to change the art, I'd probably have more hairless cats. Because, yeah, this is meant to be a hairless cat here, but it started off as a not hairless cat, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to have to redo it, and so I just painted it, and then I was like, oh my god, I didn't do any hairless cats. And I really should have done like more hairless cats. That's maybe my one objection with the artwork. I'm really proud of this one. Prickly Purr Cat's and yeah. Oh, hello, Alex. I'm just kind of wrapping up a chat about Cataclysm, wherein now I'm talking about what I think of the artwork. And Pill, I mean, there's definitely... That's not perfectly drawn. It's not a perfect cylinder by any means. It's meant to look a little bit like, hey, this could be some sort of weird drug that you probably shouldn't take if you get it from a stranger at a nightclub. But hey, it's a pill. Maybe it turns you into a cat. I don't know. No idea. Maybe it's, an existing... And a scat test which says, quickly say, ski bop do da bebop de d de da ba da dia di bop ski bop bebe de ski o bebop bedop de re bimba bomba dumba ski da de do da ra ba baby de bla bo los go be the do. Anyway, that was basically me just saying random things and trying to work out. And then the thing about scats is that honestly, scats, reading it out almost goes against the nature of what it is. It's a really weird thing to say. And so it's like, if I was to say skibaba de bop 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 de bop skibabli da bop do bop skibabli de bop deep deep bop bop skibaba do bop 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 ram bum bop. No, it's all about enjoying the rhythm. Whereas, anyway, so I didn't actually intend for anyone to actually quickly say this. That was part of the artwork. The idea was that the scat test is, and also SCAT is initials for something completely unrelated to scat. And yeah. What does that even mean? I guess I would more likely cat for a... Oh, does that mean scat for a board game? Than I would cook for a cat. I'm not... clear on what you mean by cat for a board game. Yeah. Cat burgle. Ah, sorry. I missed that. Oh, I just kind of saw the hello and then I kind of stopped reading when I was skimming through because that's the nature of streaming. You're multitasking. So this is based on someone's cat. This is based on I'm really struggling with names this morning. Scottish person, lives in Glasgow, does a Unlucky Frog board game podcast. There's Ben, there's Josh. No, I can't remember. Anyway, there's a person. I'm really sorry if they ever watch, but yeah, that was their thing. That was their cat, and they were quite happy with it, which was good to hear. And also having people's cats, I think it made it more interesting because it's things like, you've got little markings. Sometimes, okay, I try to look up model cats, and just if you try to make it up, you're not going to have as good things. This is the Cattypillist, as opposed to the Cattypill and the Caterpillar, which you saw before. Of course, you've got it might make sense to call this a Caterpillar, but you see it and it's okay, it's a Caterpillar. But anyway, Cataclysm, of course, that's the most powerful card. All of them. Everyone draws 3 cards. That's probably the one card I would change for a second edition. Donate 5. Did I ever tell? Donate 4. Scat. Yep. Pooping away. Fatter cat. The herding cat, which there's me. There's 2 people who were Kickstarter backers. The Pretty Princess, Fatter Cat, again, Catcher, Cat Burglar, Catch, Catchy, Caterpillar. Yeah. And this is Paul Lister's cat. A Catalyst. Paul Lister has a very fat cat, and I got all the people who were wanting cats to send me photos. And this is a black cat is pretty hard to draw, which is why I used a lot of purples and other colors in there. But yeah. So what happened to Kitty Cataclysm? Well, at this point, it's sold out. I mean, if you look at my website, it's out of stock. I have probably about... I think I might have about 20 copies to my name, but I want to have some copies so I can show it to other people. So I owe someone 10 copies. And there's someone who paid me for things that I've still not given them. Because I sent them most of their order, and then it's a whole long story. But at this point, basically, I'm sold out. I do not wish to sell anymore, and I wish to do a second edition. If I had done this first edition properly, I would probably just get in touch with the factory and say, boom, reprint another 1,000 and please send them over to me and I will start sending them out. Although having said that, it has been difficult selling things now that conventions aren't happening. But I did sell pretty much 1,000 between 2019 UK Games Expo and in less than a year. That seems pretty decent. It feels like I like the game. I would like the box to be a bit brighter. I would like to hear your input about what you would like to be changed for the second edition. I'm going to remove the word dick. I might, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking I might add a third sheets of paper. This might be a lot, but like I think that the one-player game is worth having in there, and I might even have a card list just to say, hey, here are all the cards. You know, I think that Alan Outson says yes to a lighter box. I assume you mean, yeah, we're talking about as in color wise, just a bit whiter, a bit maybe if I hadn't used so much ink around it. I think the red was good, but it just needed to be a bit brighter and more joyful. And maybe as I graffitied it up, if you look really carefully, it is full of paw prints, which I'm really proud of. And I think, hey, this looks good. But it's a particular style, and when you see it far away, it's not great. Oh, Sate says no to the cards list. But surely if it's on its own bit of paper, I mean, some people have specifically requested a card list. That's the thing. Like, I can't please anyone. Less cats on the front? Seriously? Less cats? I mean, surely this game's all about cats. What are you talking about? Yeah, like it's a difficult thing. Like I want to be red. I want to be kind of Bez is red, but I don't know if I would even do the paw prints. I'd probably do a plain back and maybe just say Kitty Cataclysm and just, I mean, maybe have them a little bit bigger, I guess. But I do quite like the fact that there's something that you need to look really closely at to kind of see all the details of. Anyway, I'd be doing something here. I mean, yeah, tell me what you think about card lists. Do you like card lists? Do you dislike card lists? Do you think that card lists feel like cheating, or do you think, I mean, personally, if I'm playing a game and then I'm like, okay, well, I've worked out the rules. Now I want to know how to master it. Now I want to look at the thing and be like, okay, how many of each number is there? So it's like, okay, there's 10 of each and there's 8 of the wild cards. Okay, great. And see, Alan Outson's one of the people who says yes to cards lists. And surely if it's there, you can always open it and say, oh no, that's what it is, and then close it and then not use it. Whereas if it's not there, if it's not there, then you can't have it. So yeah, I would I change any of the artwork? Nah, I'd probably keep it the same. The one thing that I would change, which I'm planning to start with Categorical, please don't expect too much, but inspired by Friedman Fries's Fast Forward series, I want to have a bunch of cards, ideally, that kind of tell you how to play the game. So on the top, it's definitely happening for Categorical. I can't promise for Kitty Cataclysm because I need to price it. And this is exactly 55 cards, at which point going for any more would be quite expensive. But at the same time, you know, I could go for a slightly different shape. I could go for a 64 cards deck. And then I've got 9 cards in the middle. And then I'm like, okay, well, okay, maybe I need to redo the card format slightly, but I could have a card at the top that says, hey, you don't need to read the rules, just don't shuffle and follow these cards to get started. Step 1, deal 5 cards. No, actually, that doesn't work because I don't know how many people are playing, so I don't know how far down the second card should be. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't bother with that whole quick start idea. I don't know why I said it. I'm regretting it. I made so I sold out. I did a bunch of personality cards, which I printed on demand. I thought that hardly anyone would buy them because I gave them away for free. So if you have the game and you have a printer, then I suggest you go onto Board Game Geek and you will be able to find the let me just see Cataclysm. If I bring up this thing, sharing my screen, you can go to Board Game Geek. So these are the pictures mainly by Eric of what's Eric playing, which I love Eric's photography. And I think, yeah, very distinctive style, black background, stark cards, showing exactly what's going on, good short depth of field used well. And this is the kind of thing that they've got on every single one of their games when they review it. And yeah, people have generally enjoyed it. I mean, it's got a 6.8, which, considering that Board Game Geek skews towards the heavier side of things, is not too bad. It's expanded by Kitty Cataclysm personality cards. So if you type in Kitty Cataclysm, you should be able to find the personality cards. And that was, go to the print and play card files, and you can download that. And that has Chair Cat, Meow, Ferdal Catstro, Prince of Persia, The Prince of Persia, Kathleen Mercury, Murray Mogulin, Professor Cataclysm, Murray Poppins. They all start on this version. There's the whole rules for that. But basically, I'm quite proud of the expansion. And I was quite surprised by how many people, even though this was available for free, they still just wanted to buy it. So I'd done a print-on-demand version, and people were like, oh yeah, I'll buy it. So I think I was selling it for £2.50, I want to say, which isn't that much. I mean, yeah, £2.50 is hardly anything, but at the same time, it's literally only 7 cards. But what it tells me is that people are quite happy to pay £2.50 for hardly anything, because also, to be fair, a lot of work did go into that. And sometimes maybe, the question of exactly what should these abilities be, and everyone loses 2 random cards, goes into grab 5 randomly from the litter tray, play 1, keep 4. And everyone passes 3 cards left, goes into everyone passes a pause left. And yeah, these are all more powerful versions on one side. Steal 1, play it, goes to grab 1 from the top of the kitty, play it, and then it goes away. So you really want to play all these special abilities because you gain Meowny. And yeah, basically, to explain, this starts off in your own special pile. It's not part of your hand, it's not part of the deck, it's your personality. Once you've done this thing, instead of your normal turn, then it flips over from -3 to 1. And then when it flips over from -1, then it goes out the game. So you've basically gained a point for... Oh yeah, that's a true thing. People might not want to print in color. I mean, you can print it in black and white. You just won't get the enjoyment if you like my color then. And honestly, these were also very quickly drawn compared to the things. I specifically did them all in marker pen because I just didn't want to have to spend time with the brush at that point. So it's like, yeah, I'm bored of painting for the past bit. So there was going to be a second wave, which I was even more excited about, which was going to be the superpowers, which I have in another box. I've got like 2 open boxes of this, and one of them I've lost somewhere in my room. But yeah, there is the superpower deck, which was going to be like Bat Cat and Iron Cat and Cat Cat and Spider Cat. So basically superheroes, but cat versions instead of man or woman. So yeah, I'll be doing another expansion at some point in the future. I might make it an actual printed thing, But first, I think I need to do a second edition after I've done a new L deck. I like it. I hope that people continue to enjoy it. The fact that glad you like that pun. Is it a pun? It's a play on words. I'm really happy to hear that people like Sate are enjoying it because it fills a niche. It's a two-player light filler game. I mean, I will say that with two players, it's quite different to 3, 4, 5. With two players, it's probably a little bit slower because 3, 4, or 5, there's more likelihood of you being, there's more benefit to you running out the game generally and trying to steal from others. But two players can end up with a little more of a be more calculating in a way. It's less chaotic, but then you lose all the political stuff. Basically, if you like politics in your game, if you like targeting people and being more mean, you want to play it with more people. If you like being less mean, you want to play it with fewer people. And yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it, but it's far from perfect. And maybe the second edition can take me even that tiny bit closer to perfection. So as always, to recap, Cataclysm, it's a game I made. I'm happy with it for the most part. There's lots of things I would change for a second edition. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Alan Outson and Xate and Aquasulis. It is lovely to see you all. And if you want to check me out, stuffbybez.bigcartel, you can buy some of my stuff, twitter.com/bez. I tweet a lot, instagram.com/stuffbez. I sometimes post pictures of pretty things or my games, twitch.tv/stuffbez for streaming, facebook.com/thingsbez is a thing. Stuffbybez@gmail.com is where you can get in touch via email. Looking forward to hopes and ambitions. That feels wrong. That feels like it should be slightly earlier. I'm going to move that for tomorrow. Looking forward to hopes and ambitions. It's over to you for this final section. So before we head off, I want to say I'm looking forward to eating right now. I'm going to have steak, I think, because there is one, and maybe strawberries. I might cycle. I do tweet a lot, apparently. I'm off to put up a shed on the allotment. And yeah, I invite you all to tell me what you're looking forward to and your hopes and ambitions. My next streams, I am going to be streaming. Let's check it out. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow at 10 a.m. with UK time, obviously, with Jay from 3 Minute Board Games. Then, I have decided. I've been talking to Chris and Layla, and they are both happy to do a live stream from Layla, the place where Layla is currently living, because Layla's on their own. And so we're going to play a few more of the L games tomorrow, I want to say. Yeah, at some point. Let's say probably 2-ish. Maybe going on a bit. Maybe we'll try and start at 1-ish. We'll see how it gets on. It'll be 1 or 2. It's going to be a semi-casual thing. And then Tuesday, 8 p.m., we'll be trying out some games online. And that will be things that people are fine to join in with. Wednesday, I'm going to be chatting about UK Games Expo. Oh no, I'm going to be talking about Categorical. And then Thursday, I'm having Ellie on to talk about board game conventions from a family perspective. And then Friday, my top 5 L games. I'll be doing my first list, which will be a very egocentric one. I'll be starting to do less egocentric ones down the line. I mean, I don't know what my top five will be. This is going to be quite challenging, but I'm going to try and talk about my top five L games. And then Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to be doing so much streaming. Saturday, I will not be doing a 10 a.m. Busy breakfast board game bladder or busy bedtime board game bladder. Sorry, I will be doing a 10 a.m. talk on the UK Games Expo channel. So I will hopefully host that on my own channel. So please go there to see how it goes. Then 12, 2, and 4 each day we will be playing some things. And I will have a whole lineup hopefully scheduled in the next day-ish. Okay, so, and then Sunday will be the State of Bez, where I'm going to be trying to be doing something of a really constrained, less than 1 hour chat about, hey, this is how things have been for me over the past year. This is what games I've got to look forward to. Hey, I know that I'm just one person basically, and deadline slips. I'm not going to give you any actual dates for any of this stuff, but this is things that you can hopefully look forward to over the next year-ish. And yeah, that is what's coming up over the next week. If you have enjoyed this, then please share and spread the word. So yeah, categorical. No, it doesn't. Oof! Oh wow! I just heard a lot of thunder. And yeah. So just to reiterate, Saturday I will not do a morning show on this Twitch/Facebook/YouTube channel because there will be one on the UK Games Expo channel. And yeah, just to reiterate. Okay, so as always, I hope that you've had a good time. I hope so that this has been of some interest. I always feel a little bit weird about kind of chatting about stuff in this way. It's like, should I have gotten to more stuff? Was it the right amount of rambling? Was it too much rambling? I don't know. Anyway, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Do, bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye.